Weird American laws. Imagine this wild scene right now, a peaceful desert night in Arizona, stars shining bright over the cactus and red rocks. In the middle of a dusty ranch yard sits an old, rusty clawfoot bathtub, the kind your grandma might have had in her bathroom back in the day. And inside that bathtub, a cute, stubborn little donkey curled up like a cat, snoring loudly, legs twitching as he dreams about endless fields of fresh carrots. Everything looks perfect until suddenly, boom! A massive wall of muddy water comes roaring down from the hills like a chocolate tsunami. The bathtub lifts off the ground like a magical boat. The donkey? Still fast asleep. Totally oblivious. He floats away down the flooded wash, spinning slowly, past terrified cowboys on horseback, past chickens flapping in panic, past old Model T cars honking uselessly. The whole town wakes up in chaos. Firefighters, volunteers, even the mayor grabs a rowboat. Helicopters, well, maybe not helicopters back then, but you get the idea. Total mayhem. They spend hours, maybe days, risking their lives, wasting tons of money and manpower just to drag this sleeping donkey and his fancy tub back to dry land. And what do the angry townspeople do after all that trouble? They pass a law. A very specific, very ridiculous law. It is now illegal for donkeys to sleep in bathtubs in Arizona. Yes, you heard that right. Stick with me, because this is one of the craziest, most legendary, dumb laws in American history. We're going deep into the true, or at least mostly true, story, why it happened, whether it's still a real law today, and what it tells us about how weird laws get born and never quite die. Get ready to laugh, learn, and probably never look at a bathtub the same way again. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Law Toons USA, where we break down the strangest corners of American law with cartoons, facts, and absolutely no boring lectures. Today we're tackling the infamous Arizona donkey bathtub saga. Is this law actually written down somewhere? Is the flood story 100% real? Or is it just a tall tale that got repeated so many times it became folklore? We'll sort fact from fiction, and by the end, you'll have the perfect weird trivia to impress your friends at the next barbecue. Let's travel back in time to the 1920s, the roaring 20s, but in the middle of the Arizona desert near the small town of Kingman. Life was tough but simple: ranchers, miners, cowboys, wide open spaces, and not much in the way of fancy furniture. One local rancher, let's call him good old Jed for the story, owned a donkey. Not just any donkey. This donkey was special. His name? We'll call him Buster, because every great Western
Subscribe and drop a like.
legend needs a donkey named Buster. Buster wasn't happy sleeping on hay like normal donkeys. No, Buster had refined tastes. He discovered an old, abandoned clawfoot bathtub sitting out in the yard, probably left there after someone upgraded their indoor plumbing or just junked it. To Buster, that smooth porcelain felt like the most comfortable bed in the world. Every single afternoon, without fail, Buster would trot over, hop in with a happy little hee-haw, curl up, close his eyes, and nap like royalty in a 5-star spa. Legs dangling over the sides, ears flopped, big, contented sighs. Jed thought it was the funniest thing ever. Neighbors, they just rolled their eyes. It's the desert, man. Weird stuff happens here. Everything was fine for months, maybe years. Buster napped, Jed laughed, life went on. Until one fateful day, most sources point to around 1924, Mother Nature decided to remind everyone who's really in charge in Arizona. Heavy rains had pounded the mountains upstream for days. A nearby dam, or maybe just a natural wash filled beyond capacity, couldn't hold back the water anymore. Flash flood. Water came rushing down like a freight train made of mud. And where was Buster? You guessed it, sound asleep in his favorite bathtub, dreaming sweet donkey dreams, completely unaware of the disaster heading his way. The floodwaters hit the ranch. The ground turned into a river in seconds. That old bathtub? It wasn't fixed down. It lifted right off the dirt like a boat launched at high tide. Buster didn't even wake up. Tongue hanging out, little snores bubbling, he floated away downstream, a full mile or more according to the legend, spinning gently in the current, past rocks, past startled wildlife, into a deep basin where the water pooled. Now picture the scene. The whole town of Kingman mobilized. People shouting, running around in panic. There's a donkey in a tub floating away. Sheriff calls for volunteers. Ranchers grab ropes and lassos. Someone hauls out a winch from the local mine. Men wade into the dangerous, fast-moving water, tying lines to the tub, pulling with all their might. Hours pass. They're soaked, exhausted, covered in mud. Finally, after what must have felt like forever, they drag Buster and his porcelain vessel back to solid ground. The donkey, still half asleep, blinking like, what's the big deal? The rescue cost a fortune in those days. Man-hours, equipment, maybe even some medical care for the bruised volunteers. Everyone was furious. This is ridiculous. We can't afford to keep rescuing floating farm animals. The town council, or maybe the county board, stories vary a little, said enough is enough. We're making a law so this never happens again. And just like that, it became illegal to allow your donkey to sleep in a bathtub. Some versions add extra details. Illegal after 7 p.m., because apparently daytime naps are okay. Others say it's a full ban, no exceptions. Either way, the message was clear. Keep your burro out of the bath. Okay, now the big question everyone asks. Is this actually a real law today? Can you really get arrested in Arizona for letting your donkey snooze in a tub? Short answer, not exactly. You won't find it in the big Arizona Revised Statutes book. No section like ARS 13 XXX, Prohibition on Equine Bathtub Napping. Lawyers and fact-checkers have searched high and low. Most say it's a myth, or at best an old local ordinance from Kingman or Mojave County that was passed back then, but never officially repealed, and then quietly forgotten over the last 100 years. But here's the fun part. Even if it's not enforceable statewide anymore, the story is based on something real. Flash floods were, and still are, a serious danger in Arizona. Abandoned tubs litter old ranches. Donkeys are stubborn and love weird sleeping spots, so the legend feels believable, and it
Subscribe and drop a like.
got repeated in books, websites, trivia lists, and even some old newspaper clippings. It became one of those weird laws facts that everyone loves to share. And Arizona does have other real donkey-related laws that are still active today. For example, it's a Class 1 misdemeanor, up to a $1,000 fine and jail time, to intentionally trip a horse, mule, donkey, or pony. So while bathtub sleeping might be okay now, don't you dare trip one. So why do silly laws like this stick around in people's minds, and sometimes even in the books for so long? First reason, nobody wants to waste time repealing something so ridiculous. Legislators have real problems to fix. Taxes, roads, schools. Who's going to sponsor a bill called Repeal of Donkey Bathtub Ban? It sounds like a joke. Second, they make fantastic trivia. You tell this story at a party, everyone laughs, someone Googles it, and boom, conversation starter for the next 10 minutes. Third, laws often get born from one single crazy incident. One flood, one floating donkey, one angry town meeting, and suddenly there's a rule carved in stone. It's a perfect example of how reactive our legal system can be. Flash floods still happen every monsoon season in Arizona. People still get swept away if they ignore warnings. Donkeys still roam some ranches. Old bathtubs? They're practically desert decor at this point. So in theory, if a modern buster decides to nap in a tub during a storm and floats away again, some overzealous small-town clerk might dig up that ancient ordinance and say, "Aha, gotcha." Moral of the story? If you live in Arizona and own a donkey, just buy him a nice cozy straw bed, or a hammock, or literally anything that doesn't float. It's safer for the donkey, safer for your wallet, and safer for the poor volunteers who'd have to rescue him. Now, let's have some fun with what-if modern scenarios, because why not? Imagine a trendy hipster in Phoenix. This is my emotional support donkey, Mr. Fluffernutter. He needs his daily tub nap for mental health. Suddenly a cop pulls up. "Sir, step away from the bathtub. We've got a Code Donkey 7-0 violation." Or a tourist in Sedona takes a cute selfie with a wild burro chilling in an abandoned hotel bathtub for the gram. Caption, "Desert vibes, tub/donkey." Next thing you know, sheriff shows up. That's a ticket, buddy. No sleeping equines in porcelain. Picture a full donkey protest march in Kingman. Signs saying, "Let us sleep where we want. Tub naps are our right. Hands off our bathtubs." Donkeys wearing little protest hats. Pure chaos. Okay, realistically, none of that would happen today. The law's too obscure, too silly, and probably not even enforceable. But imagine the court case if it did. The judge trying to keep a straight face while the defense attorney argues, "Your Honor, my client was merely exercising his constitutional right to pursue happiness in a tub." That's the wild, hilarious tale of Arizona's donkey bathtub law. Dumb on the surface, legendary underneath, and a perfect reminder that sometimes the strangest rules come from the strangest real-life moments. If this made you smile, laugh, or just shake your head in disbelief, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more animated weird law stories. We've got camel hunting bans, one-eyed cat driving rules, and plenty more coming. Drop in the comments, what's the dumbest law you've heard from your state or country? I read them all. New content drops every day, so hit that bell. Next time, why